Well guys, I'm pretty much done with the sculpture and I wanted to show you what happens when you let this air dry. So I let this dry over about 2 days and this is still moist. When you touch the clay or the sculpture, you actually feel a little bit of moisture. That's because it is pretty thick. So now we're going to lift it off from the plastic. Just a very important thing to note is that I always cover my sculptures, my terracotta sculptures, with a piece of plastic like this, a trash bag. You put it over your wood base, and the reason is when this dries, what happens is that the sculpture is going to shrink a little bit, and if it's kind of stuck onto a wood base, what I've had in the past is that it will crack because it just can't move as well as with a piece of plastic like this. That's why I put it on. And it could just be any sort of like trash bag or anything. That way the water also doesn't get into the board, so it doesn't warp it. But the primary reason I use it is so it won't develop cracks when this dries. So I don't have a bag over it anymore. I'm just letting this air dry. And now I'm going to grab the sculpture like this and I'm just going to lift it up. And you see like it is completely off. So what I tend to do now with this, and by the way, if it was on the wood, it would be a little bit harder to eventually separate if it didn't develop cracks. I'm looking at it, there's no cracks. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to turn it this way and I'm going to have my weight on it. So you can see there is no hole going onto the sculpture. I did hollow it out, but now our goal in this session is to simply take one of our sculpture tools and I am going to hollow out as much as I can and get just a little bit off here, because I can still do this when it's dry using a drill because I hollowed out the main part, but I want it to vent out. This would burn, this would crack, this would not work in a kiln if you left it like this. That's how flexible this is. And you see just working on this. This one is not that important because I can just drill it all the way up. So I might do that. And I see a little bit of a crack because I fixed this part here. And I want to get as much as possible out without coming through the surface. So the thighs are going to go like this. So I'm actually going to take it and scoop as much as I can towards the angle of that thigh and try to meet that hollow. The more clay you remove, the better. Another thing I suggest is taking your tool and just kind of beveling this out. The reason is when it rests on a table, you don't want this to cut or scratch. So here's the other leg is right here. A screw gun with a drill bit. This works really well when the clay is completely dry, but I'm going to do this because it might be a little bit easier to kind of get in there. So I'm going to take this, just kind of orient it, and that's the knee right over there. There we go. That actually did the job really well. And all this clay you can reuse. That's going into the leg. and I'm gonna see if I can get the other one. But you know, right here, you don't even need to because the thighs are joined. So it's going right about there. The clay is still pretty wet, and the reason you want to do it now is because if you go to the surface, you'll be able to correct it. Okay, we got a lot of clay out. I'm gonna shake it like this, and I'm gonna set it down. You can do a whole lot more of this. I'm going to spend some time and really get as much clay out of here, just because it makes it much nicer. It'll be a little bit lighter for firing. But all of this clay that you remove, I would just lump it all back, put it in the bag. It's gonna be as good as brand new. So that's how you prepare your sculpture for firing. The next video I do on this particular sculpture, I will be showing you the firing process. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.